Welcome to Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc, the wildest mixed tag team in podcasting where the kayfabe drops and the chaos takes over. Let's ring the damn bell.
Headlocks tight, heels on the prowl, dropping elbows, hearing growl, feel the foul. No script here, just real, no bluff. Kayfabe crack, now the dirt gets rough. Headlocks, heels, havoc in the zone, stepping in the ring. Chaos at your home, no filters, no mask, just raw bare tone. Wrestling unscripted, we on the throne. Title belts, mic checks, crowd going crazy. Drop truth bombs, leaving lines feeling hazy. Beyond the kayfabe, past the charade, where legends are born and stories get made. Headlocks popping, who's hitting the mat? Welcome to the Havoc where the real talk's at. Tune in, step through, leave the fake at the door. Headlocks, heels, Havoc, now hear the roar.
Step into the wild, unfiltered world of professional wrestling history, where ambition met chaos and one man's vision burned bright and crashed hard. Tonight, we dive deep into the unbelievable rise and catastrophic fall of Herb Abrams and his vision of the Universal Wrestling Federation, a promotion packed with legends, fueled by big money, and undone by even bigger problems. From national TV deals and superstar-filled rosters to unpaid talent, bizarre bookings, and one of the most infamous collapses in the business has ever seen. This is the story you have to hear to believe. This is the madness, the myth, and the meltdown of the UWF. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am one half of the greatest tag team in podcasting, the legend J-Mac. With me, as always, is everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Slam.
What's up, family? How we doing today?
And today we are going to be talking to you all about, again, Herb Abrams and the failed UWF. I mean, I guess we start at the beginning.
Yeah. But like I said, just to start this out, like, before we even get into this shit should be a movie. This should be some type of comedy or something, because like the shit don't even sound real. Like reality really is stranger than fiction, because all the stuff you hear, like you like, nah, man, he couldn't have really done that. Yes, he did. And it just goes back to the saying that cocaine is a hell of a drug.
That's to say the least. Because I mean, yeah, that dude, it's just, it's hard to even describe. You know, like I said, you'll hear what we're gonna tell you, and I mean, just, I guess, decide for yourself if you believe it or not. But these are the facts, this is what happened. So Herb Abrams, he was a let's see, what was it? He was a clothing, trying to find it here in my
I knew he owned a couple like clothing stores or something like that, and then he was supposedly a buyer for like a big big and tall store or something like that. But like I think he made most of his money in retail, selling clothes and stuff like that, though.
Yeah.
And he was successful.
He was a New York clothing businessman. Yes, he was very successful. He was a New York City clothing businessman, and he just one day decided that he was going to start a wrestling company. But the thing of it is that he got offered something that not a lot of people get offered. He like secured a $1 million deal with the Sports Channel America so he had TV right off the bat.
Yeah. And they were going to air it. I think it was like 5 days a week.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. He created the UWF, and the show was called Fury Hour as the flagship TV show. Now, just to give you some of the names to start this show out, and this was in the for the mid to late 90s, he had a different roster than he did when he first started out. But this man had some of the biggest names that you could ever imagine in professional wrestling. Let's see here who all he had here. In his early 1990-91 roster, he had names like Andre the Giant, Paul Orndorff, Don Morocco, Bob Armstrong Jr., or not Bob Armstrong, sorry, Bob Orton Jr. Yes, Randy Orton's daddy. Nikita Koloff, Ivan Koloff, Ken Pateras, Dr. Death Steve Williams, Cactus Jack, and Bam Bam Bigelow. And that's just to name a few.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he had Terry Bam Bam Gordy, which, was Terry Gordy. He was one of the greats. His commentary team was him and Bruno Sammartino, which, not him, but the Bruno part I get, pretty early and everything. But it was just like, okay, we got something new here. But then
I'll give him an A for effort, but let's just call out some of the stuff you said. Okay, now you listed a bunch of people, but when he was starting this organization, he lied about a bunch of the people he said he had under contract that he didn't have under contract that wasn't working for him. And what else was there? And they call Bruno San Martinez the worst commentator in history.
Yes.
The worst commentator in history. And to make it even worse, they didn't even mic the ring or the audience, so all the commentary was done in post-production, and you can tell because they're watching it and commenting instead of being there, it's real quiet, and you hear them kind of talking over everything. It's weird. It's like I don't know if the WWE kind of learned from their mistakes or, they eventually learned to get it right, but yeah, it was a hot fucking mess.
It really was. And just some facts to start it off a little bit that I've got stuff here. Again, like we talked, New York businessman, no wrestling experience before starting the UWF, secured the $1 million deal. Promotion's main show was Fury. Let's see. Despite having TV, UWF had no consistent storylines or long-term booking plans. Sounds to me a whole lot like AEW for a while.
I was going to say, a lot of issues that they have then sound like a lot of shit that's still going on now. And something else that they had in their favor that a lot of people didn't know was that the sports, the TV channel that was producing them gave them a deal where they would cover the production costs, and each episode was $50,000. So we were talking about $50,000, 5 shows a week or whatever, and how many months? That's a hell of a deal. That's a sweetheart deal right there, and shit, you can't get that often, especially back then. Shit, 50,000 episode every episode.
Could you imagine what Vince McMahon could have done with that?
Yeah,
let's just Eric Bischoff. Imagine what Eric Bischoff could have done with that,
Exactly.
Because how much more would Ted Turner have been willing to do if I'm not putting up my own money for the production? So
exactly,
let's do it.
And plus they said that when he was starting the whole thing out, because like I said, he had no clue of wrestling. He had hired some guy that he knew was a TV producer. I think he had maybe a wrestler to start his booking or whatever, but he had no clue what the fuck he was doing and shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of hard to start a wrestling business when you have no fucking clue what you're doing. It's one thing to be a fan and be like, oh man, I like this, I like that. But when you're running a company, and I think they started out with $2 million was supposed to last 5 years. So it rounded out to be $400,000 a year. And that shit was gone in no time. And that was his own money.
You got to call.
What'd you say?
Oh, I was just going to say, when you talk about overhead and everything else, even without production.
Yeah,
There was a lot going on.
there was a lot of going on
Let's
too.
see. Yes, yes, and we will definitely get into that. If you like petroleum jelly, stick around.
Like I said, he was Diddy
And I
before
don't mean
Diddy
it in
was
that
Diddy.
way. Right. I think Diddy and him were probably friends, and he was learning from him or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he probably looked up and was like, "Oh, I like that guy. I like this dude."
It says many wrestlers, of course, that I named and stuff were past their prime, and they saw that UFW was just a quick short term payday,
Yeah,
which a lot of people like. I know I remember a while ago, which honestly and truthfully, it's the reason I even remembered anything about UFW or UWF is because of the fact that uh, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, Mankind, whatever you want to call him, Dude Love, he was talking about this on a show one time about how he was he went over there because this is right around the time that he showed up in WCW as well. So he went over there and you know he went over there thinking we're really going to turn this into a big company. This
yeah,
guy's throwing a lot of money to it. We're going to, we're going to do something here. And there's a lot of big talent. Yeah, that turned out to not to be the case because some of those wrestlers that I mentioned before too, not only did they see it as a short-term payday, they also only appeared once or twice and then just was like, nah. But how much of
yeah.
that was just like, yeah, we look at everything's going on behind the scenes.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with it because when you don't pay people and you consistently bounce checks, you know what I'm saying? And when guys get to the point where they're like, no, like I need to be paid up front to make sure my money's, or when wrestlers get pissed and they walk out halfway through a fucking performance because they know they're not getting paid. I mean that says a lot and shit. I mean, like if you can't be trusted, I mean, I wouldn't work
You
for you either. Like I said, he was known. A lot of guys knew that there was a good chance you probably wasn't going to get paid. Like there was a 50-50 shot. You might get paid, you might not. And even if he wrote you a check, more than likely that check was going to bounce.
Yep.
And,
And that's the
and
thing,
like,
if you go to Pepsi and you don't get a paycheck a couple times, I'm either going to need to get some payment or I'm not going in.
exactly, people ain't going to work for free and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's going to,
Nope.
put their body on the line and take a chance getting hurt. Like for a maybe pay. Shit, motherfuckers got bills. That's like I think it was Dr. Death. They had asked him to come over and because he's working in like New Japan and to come go over there for a little bit because he had been there before, and he's like, I'm not giving up a steady paycheck, a guaranteed check from like New Japan to come do this and shit when there's no guarantee that that there's no guarantee that I might even get paid. No, hell no.
Right. And you can't blame them. These people people forget, yeah, these are wrestlers, but they got families too. They got
Exactly.
people
Like
depending on
nobody's
them
doing
at
this
home.
shit. Yeah, nobody's doing this shit for free. Like I said, hell, they do it because you pay them because they got families, because they got bills to pay. Ain't nobody going out there and doing this shit just because they like doing it and don't want to get paid. Fuck that shit. Nobody does that shit. No job. Shit. I mean, you show me a job like where people are like, hey man, I don't care if I get paid. I just come here because I like it. Not never.
And the thing of it is too is to touch on your point, it says some wrestlers were never paid, but even some of the cash advances never fully came through.
Mm.
So it's like, and then the venues and production crews, I don't know how many times it said they were left unpaid.
Oh
So,
yeah.
you're just hurting the company all the way around before you ever even get your foot in the door.
Did you hear the story? I think it was a college kid that he was trying to save money, so he found this college kid. He just met him, and the college kid said that he could get a production staff, so he gave him $12,000. The guy brings a truck. that's missing a bunch of shit, gets the crew, and the crew's like, hey, this ain't going to be enough. You know what I'm saying? So he tricks them and says, like, if y'all don't finish doing what you were supposed to do, I'm going to sue you, take you to jail, call the police or whatever. So they were scared and just basically were free, which cost them like 18 grand and shit. So it's like, damn, bro, it's like you just cheating everybody. Like, you just don't even give a fuck. Like, I saw where he was.
Makes you go.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that makes you go back to think, what kind of misdealings were going on whenever he was, doing his clothing line.
Oh yeah.
Are you selling people cheap ass clothes and then turning around and being like, hey, this is high quality stuff, and
people just don't develop that shit overnight, like I said. So he didn't start out being like, I'm gonna scam these people, and it was like it took time. Hell, I'd also read where he got pissed because people would write articles about how bad his shows was. He was threatening to sue like a 15-year-old boy and shit because he had talked about his wrestling organization. Didn't make anything up, told the truth, but because he talked bad about him, he was like, I'm suing this kid. A 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like, damn, bro.
It just goes to show you where his head was at. But again, it was induced by other things.
Yeah, controlled substance.
Let's see here. Right. Let's see. Pablo Escobar was his good friend.
I'm surprised he wasn't a wrestler. Hold on, not to change the subject, right. but like, have you seen the wrestler that's called Cocaine Man or whatever?
Oh, you talking about cocaine?
Yeah, there's a guy.
Is it? It's not the dude who dresses up like Kane, right?
Kind of Kane-ish, but then he has like powder. He looks like he snorts it or blows it, or no, he throws it in his face, and then he gets all like hyped up, and then he basically beats somebody's ass. Yeah. I'm like,
the funny thing about that is there's several different ones, because there's of course, the original Kane, and then there's the wrestler Cocaine, and then there's what was it? Gain. Gayne, and he comes out in like rainbow stuff. I'm like, this shit's great, man. Whoever sat down and thought all those up to be a wrestling gimmick is, I want to say they're borderline genius. You know what I'm saying? Because who would have thought to dress up as Kane, only make your outfit white and throw powder in my face, and that's how I Hulk up and everything, and we're going to call me Cocaine. It was great. First time I seen it, it was great.
I know. I think my brother sent that shit to me. I just shook my head.
Funny crap. It was hilarious. It was hilarious stuff. So, let's see. In 1991, which it was in the first year of operation, the UWF lost its Sports Channel America TV deal, which of course crippled the company. After losing the TV, the promotion essentially became a ghost company for years, because they were from what I read, they were basically at that point living off of their library, just re-showing stuff and everything. They were, I don't know. It wasn't real clear if they were like just pulling certain matches out of shows and then, putting a compilation of matches together, or if it was, I'm saying, like a I think they were trying to push it off as this is a brand new show, and it wasn't. It was just pieced together matches from the past 2 years or whatever it was. So, I mean, that'll kill you too. There he is. What do you say, Mr. JD? He's back again to talk a little UWF. Oh, we're just talking about how Herb Abrams was a character, to say the least.
I think character is an understatement.
Hey guys,
You right? Do you so? What is your knowledge of the UWF and Herb Abrams version of the UWF, JD?
I just know it. The only reason I knew about it was from the Dark Side of the Wrestling show, and that's where I had first heard about it. Was seeing it on that special. So I thought it was. I did not remember it, back when I was a kid or in the 90s, or like I don't remember ever hearing about it. I remember hearing something about a UWF being like an offshoot or something. But ECW was the one who was playing catch up to the two big ones at the time. And I wasn't super into like indie wrestling or anything. So I didn't have a lot of knowledge of it at the time. It wasn't until I saw the special and then looked into it myself that I actually figured out, like learned what it was.
Well, it was pretty short lived. I think it only made it like 3 years, 4 years the most, maybe to 90. Was it 93? I think when it finally died.
Let's see.
I'm not sure when it was actually.
By 1993.
Yeah.
By 1992-93, UWF had almost no active roster or events, but he was still trying to run shows with like 5 wrestlers. It was crazy.
I know he was using like local talent and stuff. Like he would have a couple stars, and the rest would be like local people and shit towards the end. Because he could, because he wasn't paying people, and if you don't pay people, they're not going to come back. And then he developed a reputation of not paying, arenas. He wasn't paying his wrestlers, and people don't. Wrestling's a tight knit community. People remember that shit. They're not going to forget.
J Mac, how many times have I said in the last this week? I'm like, dude, the wrestling world is actually freaking tiny, dude. Like I mean, it's a big community, but it's tiny.
Yeah. It's absolutely.
People don't forget shit like that.
So in 1994, he tried to come up with his final, I guess, push or whatever. He held the Blackjack Brawl in Las Vegas, drawing only about 300 fans in a 17,000 seat arena. Dr. Death Steve Williams became the only recognized UWF world champion at that event. So in 4 years? So from 90 to 90, what is this? 94. In 4 years, you only had one recognized world heavyweight champion, and you wonder why and this is, we're just talking about the wrestling side of it right now.
Yeah.
Wait until we get into the other side of everything.
Yeah.
So if you're only going to have one world champion in 4 years, you're shooting yourself in the foot right there anyway, because you don't have a face for your organization.
Well, he was in Japan. Dr. Death had left to go to Japan because, like I said, they wasn't paying him regularly, so he was making good money in Japan. So he wasn't going to give that up, and I don't blame him. So,
wow, I did not know this.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, J Mac.
Go ahead, JD. No, you're fine. You're fine. We got a little bit of a lag between us, so I get to talking a little bit before y'all.
Yeah, that's okay. What I was going to say was that Dr. Death is not really the person, like he's not who I would want to make the face of my company either. So like making him the champion for 3 years, that probably came because he was likely the most notable star on the roster after the first couple of shows.
Well, he tried to get bigger talent, but I think it was just he had he just had a bad reputation, because I know at one point he was trying to get Hulk Hogan to come over and was going to offer Hulk, I think it was like $1 million for like 2 appearances, but he didn't have the money for it and shit.
Yeah, I didn't. Was X-Pac in there too at some point? Wasn't he?
I wouldn't be surprised and stuff, because that was kind of like
that was.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're talking about Global Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
The GWF. That's where the Patriot. I used to get them mixed up too, because I used to think one was the other, and it wasn't. But let's see. So I just read this, and this is kind of hilarious. This is probably the only thing I'm ever going to laugh and thank Herb Abrams for doing. But he created a parody wrestler named Davey Meltzer to mock journalist Dave Meltzer.
Hmm.
I never knew that, but that's kind of funny. Oh, Davey Meltzer, we're going to beat him up in the ring every week. But at this point, he had started becoming increasingly paranoid, reportedly tearing apart hotel rooms, thinking that he was being surveilled and everything. He was, constantly in paranoia. But
Yeah,
again,
he blamed Vince for a lot of
that's what the
shit.
white stuff will do to you.
Yeah, because he
Yes.
blamed Vince for a lot of his failures. Like he thought Vince had not blackballed him, but told certain arenas that if they had him as part of like he wouldn't bring his people back. And like television deals that Vince was like, hey, if you put them on, then I'm not going to put my people on. I don't know if that was paranoia or if Vince really was that type of person. Now I'm not saying Vince wouldn't do some shit like that, but part of me is like, I don't think he really had to. I don't think he really had to do much of anything. Like I said, I don't think he was really worried about him. I think he saw the writing on the wall and was like,
I don't think that necessarily Vince did that to Herb and the UWF. He may have, honestly and truthfully, because at that point I don't put anything past Vince because he had done that before with
the arena thing I've heard
Starcade, I believe it was. Well, no, it was Vince with he told the pay-per-view people, I can't remember if it was Starcade or what it was, but he told them if you air Starcade on pay-per-view, then you're not getting WrestleMania. And they pretty much blackballed Starcade. So Starcade, I believe that year was on closed circuit TV and not pay-per-view. And it took, them managing a couple of years trying to figure out how to circumvent Vince and his ultimatum to get to it. So, I mean, that doesn't sound too far-fetched to me. For, with Vince doing that, if he's going to do it to the NWA, I don't see why he wouldn't do it to an upstart. But, then again, we're talking about the UWF upstart.
Like I said, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I don't think he had to. Like, I think Vince knew what was going on there and was like, I don't have to do shit. These people are going to blow their own self up.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
most definitely. So they let's see. So in 1996, and we there's still a whole lot more that we got to cover. I'm just kind of giving you a brief timeline of the UWF before we get into the deeper stuff. In 1996, Herb Abrams died after being found completely naked, covered in baby oil, and destroying a hotel room, officially ending the UWF forever. I mean, what are you going through that you got to do stuff? You know what I mean?
Don't forget they said he was high as a 747. They said he was high as a 747. Yes. So,
I mean, if you're naked and covered if you died in a hotel room naked and covered in baby oil, I would hope drugs were involved.
You never know nowadays, brother.
That's true.
It's a strange world out there. It's a strange world.
That's true. That's true. But if you're just dying like of a heart attack or something, naked in a hotel room covered in baby oil without drugs, what the fuck happened? That's what
that is weird.
Investigators.
I would hope drugs would be involved, like you said. Like if I'm covered in baby oil, butt naked, running around, because if not, then you really got some problems.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
At least you blame it on the drugs. Be like, man, it was the cocaine. I'm sorry, man.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
No, that's what I'm.
Right. To quote, what's his face? I can't think of his name. Rick James. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. Uncle Sam, you bring up you tell us some stuff that you got from all of this.
Let's see. What did I learn about Little Buddy? Obviously, he didn't pay his debts and shit. He owed a lot of arenas, a lot of people money. Uh, he got arrested. I think multiple times and stuff. Different, reasons. I think assault was one. Drugs. He got caught a bunch of times. Obviously, he went to rehab.
I want to say prostitution was in there too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And really, and this is kind of weird too. Like, how him and Vince had this big competition, but he was at WrestleMania either one or two. Like, they got pictures of him at WrestleMania. Herb Edwards is at WrestleMania partying. So
well,
I did not know that.
Explains the baby oil.
But yeah, like, I mean, it's just weird. Like I said, I mean, like, all the there was fights and shit. I think now, I don't know if he had any kids. I don't know if he had a wife or anything like that. I'm assuming not, because they didn't say anything about that. I'm trying to think what else interesting they had said. Hold on, let me check my notes real quick. But
well, while you're doing that, I just pulled up. He created 3 championships. One was called the Israeli title.
Yeah.
One was called the MGM Grand title, and the other one was the Midget Championship.
Yeah, at one pay-per-view, there was 9 championships, and I think he made up 5 of them.
Yeah,
like, yeah, he had no problem. It's then there were. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I wouldn't say anything.
No, and then I saw one where he had an interview with, I guess, the midget champ, and he was talking about he had slept with some Asian women too, and I'm like, oh my god, bro. Obviously, it was the 90s, so he could get away with it. They were talking about at one point, he had went to home video, started doing, tapes to, home, which didn't pick up in America, but did get really popular in Germany and Malaysia, which is kind of odd. I don't understand that myself, but and he was so popular in Asia that he was actually going to do like an 8-tour stop over there. Like, they loved him. I don't know why.
Wow.
Also, he had one of the worst pay-per-views ever. I think the worst pay-per-view ever.
Yep.
They what was it? I think it was a 7 or 8,000 seat place, and they maybe sold like 350 tickets, and then they gave, I think, 200 more away just to make it like 500 or some shit. Just and like, if you look at a lot of the old matches and shit, like, you can see where shit's like half empty. There's nobody there. Now, like, you can only turn down the lights so much to kind of black that shit out, but you can't hide all that shit. They're just, people just wouldn't even, they stopped showing up, and then it got to the point where they were just giving tickets away just to make it look full. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would have people buy them, and then once they couldn't get it full, they would just give them away.
They would WCW it.
I think at one point he actually begged people to stay for the main event. Like, he got on the microphone and was like, please, just stay a little bit longer, blah, blah, blah. I think some people left. I think a couple people stayed because they felt sorry for him. But, yeah, like, he was just, man, he was a hot mess. He had maybe some good ideas.
The sad thing is, the sad thing is if he would have put down the coke and really, because, I mean, he obviously was a successful businessman.
Yeah.
He obviously did that in New York. But, I think that, honestly and truthfully, one of my opinion on some of it is that once he kind of got away from the clothing business and got into the world of wrestling, I think he saw it as a way to, now I don't have to be as professional. And because I don't have to be as professional, I can, I can do these crazy things. I can do drugs. I can, sleep around with multiple women and do all this other crazy crap because it's the world of wrestling and this is how it is.
Yeah.
But he obviously didn't understand wrestling.
I think he going to be Vince like, but he wasn't Vince. You know what I'm saying? Like Vince did a lot of that shit, but Vince also he had a foundation in wrestling. He grew up in wrestling. His father did wrestling. Like that was what they did. He didn't know anything else. You know, he didn't come from fashion. He didn't come from fucking doing anything else. He came from wrestling. And the other guy, Abrams, he was just somebody kind of sticking their toes in it and thought that it would be something easy or fun he could do, and didn't realize that how much work it takes to put on a good wrestling match. You know how much work it takes to put on a good organization and keep shit running. Because he had he had a good foundation. Like he had the money, he had the backing, he had the TV deal, and that's a lot of shit that a lot of organizations don't even have to start out with and shit. But he just pissed it all away.
It did. Like I said, could you imagine? You know, imagine, you know, imagine TNA when they first walked in, having a TV deal, like you said, having $50,000. The TV station is going to donate $50,000 every show just for production value. You know what I'm saying? Imagine if a small company like that had that nowadays. That would be a gold mine in the wrestling business.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but
I looked up.
Honestly, I think his money. Go ahead.
Okay, I just looked up a couple of things real quick for you guys while you guys were chatting here. Going off Uncle Slam's point, they had 11, including the World Championship, a Women's Championship, and a Tag Team Championship. They had 11 different titles. The UWF did 11 different titles. Yep. Now this is the kicker. Are you ready for this? This is the stat that matters. Okay, so 11 of them. Out of all 11 of these championships, only 3 of them had more than one person holding the belt.
Damn.
Wow.
So that means 8 of the championships were only likely, most of them were only crowned once, never defended. And then, that's it. They were just a bunch of decorative
Does it
belts.
say the names of those?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Would you like to know what the names of the belts are? Absolutely. I would love to give you the names of these belts.
Yes,
are you ready?
Yes, please.
Okay, so of course you have the WWF World Heavyweight Championship, the Tag Team Championship, and the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, that's all good. Then they also had their own version of the North American Championship. Again, not terrible. They also had their own version of the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. I guess the heavyweight is the part that's different there from the WWF. They also had a Junior Heavyweight Championship. Now, all of those are not that bad. They seem all reasonable. Maybe too many for one company, but all reasonable titles. This is where we get to the fun part. The UWF America's Championship, the UWF Israeli Championship, the UWF MGM Grand Championship, the UWF Midget World Championship, the UWF Southern States Championship, the UWF Sports Channel Television Championship. Those are all the other ones other than the ones that I have named.
Yes. It's like he was just making shit up, pulling names out of a hat.
Yeah. And honestly and truthfully, it was probably MGM probably gave him some money just to make a belt and name it to him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming his name being Abram, he was Jewish or something like that. So that's probably where the Israeli championship came from. It's just why? Like what? I don't know. I just don't know. It's almost like he wanted to have a German champion. It was like he was trying to create a champion from each country or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no. And what's funny is because you said Steve Williams was the only world champion, and that's correct. Steve Williams was the only champion, which means that out of all those 11 belts, 3 of them only had more than one person reigning, and one of those was not even the world championship. It was the Tag Team Championship, the Women's Championship, and the UWF Sports Channel Television Championship. That actually had 2 different people reigning. Did you also know that Steve Williams is responsible for being 1, 2, Hold on, I'm pretty sure there's at least a third one here. Oh no, just two. So he was responsible for being two champions, Steve Williams, and Bob Orton Jr. also held two different championships. So,
damn.
But here's the thing, and this is something I really wonder, and I'm gonna do some deep diving into this now that I'm thinking of it. Are these actually recognized championships, or do we, or are they? Does the business kind of say, "No, we're not recognizing you as an intercontinental or whatever"?
Not really.
Champion
no
Bob
way.
Orton Jr. was.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine anybody would take a UWF title reign as any kind of legitimacy. I don't see any of those wrestlers who were actually champions including that on their resumes.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell anybody I worked there.
I'm going to ask.
I saw Steve Williams a lot after
Herb
apparently UWF. I saw him in WWE. He was in WCW a little bit, and I don't ever remember them introducing him as a former UWF
recognized
World Heavyweight Champion or a UWF Southern States champion. Like that's, I don't recall that big part of the process.
No, he probably thought that was a bad dream and shit. He's like, yeah, man, that was just a bad dream I had. Thought I was in this terrible organization.
So I found the answer real quick. It says the championships of Herb Abrams Universal Wrestling Federation were legitimate within the context of his promotion, but they hold virtually no historical weight or recognition in the broader wrestling industry today. While he featured world-class talent like Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Bob Orton Jr., the organization was frequently criticized and nonsensical booking and titles that meant nothing due to inconsistent presentation. So the world of wrestling doesn't recognize these titles, but his organization, which lasted 5 minutes, they
only had three different events too that I see, and the one that I think was Uncle Slam referred to. And actually, it looks like it had, or at least in my notes, it looks like it had a crowd of 500. But you said that they had to give several hundred tickets away.
Yeah,
and the buy rate was a 0.1 for the pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, the worst in history, I think.
A 0.1, dude. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Spice Channel got more orders than that.
I think they said, what did he say? They made $30,000, and they had to give half of that to the pay-per-view company, so they made $15,000 on pay-per-views. Like I think only 2,000 people bought the pay-per-view in total.
Well, that's honestly impressive.
Right.
Yeah, but most of them wanted their money back afterwards. Roughly, like,
I gotta go home, man. I gotta stop and get my Whopper so I can go home and watch the MGM Grand title be defended tonight.
Oh shit!
Oh man. Yeah,
well, here's my thing. How do you have a North American title and an Intercontinental title? Isn't that the same title?
You would think so, yeah. I mean, at the same time, they also have not only do they have a North American Championship and the Intercontinental Championship, they also have the Southern States Championship.
I'm pretty sure in his mind it made sense.
I'm sure a lot of things in his mind made sense, like baby oil and Vaseline and cocaine. And I mean, it was... all I can say is anybody that really wants to, deep dive into this organization, I don't know why you would want to. We've pretty much covered everything you need. Go watch The Dark Side of the Ring. I mean, it covers it pretty good, even more than what we have, and tells you a little bit more about the stuff that he was doing. But the dude was just, I mean, I don't even know how to describe him.
He was wrong. I also had read where he had sold the rights to like their library, like exclusive rights. I'm telling you, right? Exclusive, just only that person, to multiple companies. How do you sell exclusive rights to multiple people? You don't. That shit's wrong. It's
I believe
illegal.
that's
You can't do that
right.
shit.
That's what I was gonna say. I believe that's an illegal work. I mean,
It is. But that's
yeah,
the shit he
it's
did. Like, this is the shit he was doing. And didn't see
the
a problem
dude
with it. It was like, no.
was
Yeah.
a certified con artist, hands down. And I think he was a con artist probably the whole time. I think he just became a drug addict.
Yeah, I don't think he started out that way. I think it's like anything, he was probably dipping, dabbing a little bit. And then once he, got his dream to be a wrestler, to own a wrestling company, then he probably thought he was untouchable. Because he started out, he was half decent. They were, they weren't filling arenas, but they were getting, 400, 500, 900 people at max sometimes and stuff. But, when you don't have no storylines and shit don't make sense, like, people ain't going to stick around for that shit. And especially when you don't
I
pay
don't
your
want to
taxes.
insult indie wrestling. Right. I don't want to insult indie wrestling, but it almost sounds like that he was like the first failed indie company. I mean, it was here for 5 minutes and then it's gone.
Yeah, he only
Dude
lasted
was-
4
dude
years,
was-
I think.
Yeah.
That's the quickest I've ever seen the organization last.
The last event that was supposed to happen was called St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It was canceled. It was a planned live television special that would have been on the Prime Sports Network, which was apparently a company that was crazy enough to put their stuff on the air. It was scheduled for February 10th, 96. And it was supposed to be at Los Angeles, California. And it was supposed to feature a rematch from the previous pay-per-view event, the one that didn't buy at all. And that was against Steve Williams against Sid Vicious in a steel cage match for the heavyweight championship. And the heavyweight championship, wasn't awarded until the end of the company's existence. Before that, the UWF Sports Channel Television Championship was considered the premier, quote unquote, premier title in their company.
Oh, that's so weird.
Everything was just bass backwards.
And those
now that you said that about the,
I don't mean to cut you off. Those are the only 3
Go ahead.
championships that actually made it through the whole life of the company. Was the Sports Channel TV Championship, the Women's Championship, and the Tag Team Championship. As Slam said, the world title was awarded in the last ever show, and all the other belts were awarded at a show, but then never defended.
Yeah.
So I wonder how, because I remember that, what was it? I believe it was the pay-per-view that the Big Show showed up in WWE finally. That was called St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I wonder if Vince stole that from Herb because he knew Herb couldn't afford to sue him.
That is true.
So he was like, that's just, and see, that even surprises me with the fact that they were having shows in 1996, because that means they were doing stuff during the Attitude Era.
No, they were trying to. Let's get that straight. Trying.
Right. Yeah, they were
They
trying.
weren't really putting shit on. They were trying to.
And
I was going to say the last pay-per-view. Yeah, you're right. The last pay-per-view, which was canceled, was in February of 96. What's funny is, though, the previous event, Blackjack Brawl, was September 23rd, 1994.
Yeah.
Damn, so they went 2 years
years
without a fucking match, pay-per-view, or anything?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't make it.
Okay, so he passed away in 1996. Okay, so yeah, he was still doing stuff. That's crazy, man. This like when I found out about this and we were coming up with topics to do and everything. Like Uncle Slam for the longest time was like, I just don't know if that'll be a good one or nothing and everything. He told me he got to looking into this and he was like, man, this crap's crazy, man. Why have I not known about this? And
yeah, like it's insane to think of all the shit this man did and got away with and shit, and people just kept trusting him and kept believing in him, and but
absolutely,
they did
absolutely crazy.
And it's no shock that he died of a heart attack. Obviously, can't do that much
when you're
drugs.
doing a kilo of coke every day.
Yeah,
It's like,
large
hey,
amounts.
man, Pablo,
Apparently,
man.
apparently
He,
his TV deal ended in 1991.
What
oh
ended in
yeah,
91?
yeah. The TV deal ended like his TV deal. The
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
TV
his
deal
TV deal
ended
ended in
almost
1991,
immediately.
which
Yeah,
means which means there was only 3 shows after that.
yeah. Which is crazy, like I said, because he was at the beginning, he was handed TV. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of TV, like Uncle Slam said, he was handed $50,000 a show, not just for a year. It was every show he did. The TV company or the
Yeah,
station
the
was giving
production
him
company was
50.
paying for it. Yeah, they were paying
Yeah,
50 grand.
and it's
Do you
crazy
think?
because go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, like, do you think maybe he was handed too much, and that's why he failed? That they gave him all this shit. Sometimes you hand somebody everything, and they just don't know how to handle it. Like if that was happening, like he had it too easy. He didn't have to work hard enough to get it, so that's why it was easy for him to kind of piss it away.
To an extent, yes, because I think it was made too easy, like you said. With Vince, he had to work at it. He had to turn it from what his dad's company was into what he wanted his company. Um, with Eric Bischoff, first thing he had to come in and do was cut costs because they were bleeding money, and
Mm-hmm.
so he was doing all kinds of crazy stuff to cut costs. So yes, I do think that there was no learning curve, there was no struggle, even though Bischoff, and I think he's the closest example to it as far as being handed everything, but even he had to go through some struggle because he had to immediately cut cost. It wasn't like he walked in and was like, here's this for production, here's this for this.
Yeah.
It was, show us why we should be giving you this for this.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to come in and do some work to do it.
Unbelievable, man. I'll tell you what. Listen, I'm just saying, man. If a company, if a TV company gave me $1 million and said you need to put on a weekly show for us for the next year with this $1 million, I'd be like, yes, thank you. Hi, how you doing? Thank you very much. And I certainly wouldn't be blowing it up my nose. I would consider it like that's an amazing opportunity that he squandered, bro. Like to just be given $1 million budget and say, here's your $1 million for the year. Make it work. Hello, yeah, of course you make that work. Someone's giving you money and a venue to do it. Why? How do you
Yeah.
not succeed?
And you don't even need the money because you're already rich.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even I
So he
didn't
was
grow up in the
rich.
wrestling industry. I'm not Vince McMahon, but I'll tell you what, you give me $1 million and a place to have it, and I will put on some wrestling shows. It will be successful.
Right. Even if it's got to
Unbelievable.
start out quarterly or something. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. What's amazing, it's amazing everything that happened with this company, and it's also amazing that with everything that this company was given that it didn't succeed because it had everything that could have succeeded. You give everything that Herb Abrams and the UWF got to uh Paul Heyman and ECW, and ECW is still alive today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may have had to change the product a little bit and not been so overly hardcore because of just changing times and the landscape of the world and society and stuff like that. Nobody's going to put up with hardcore matches and chair shots, especially with CTE and stuff like that. So the landscape of what ECW was over time would have probably had to change, but I guarantee you ECW would still be around today because
Yeah.
dangerously, well, I said dangerously, but Heyman, whatever you want to call him, he would have made it work, especially with $50,000. I got $1 million budget to start, and I got $50,000 every show, and I've got TV.
Yeah, that's really what always ECW
I
lacked.
don't get it.
ECW definitely. That's really what ECW lacked, was a good TV deal. That's the
Yeah.
only reason they couldn't really actually go after WCW and WWE's share of the market, was that nobody wanted to give them a TV deal. That was the only thing that really held
Yeah.
ECW back.
Because they never promoted them either. I mean, like even when they were on, say, a channel, like you never knew about it. Like you had to hunt and actually look to find them. Like you never saw a
There was
commercial.
no, there was no guide and stuff back then, right, Uncle Slam?
What'd you say?
There was no guide. There's no TV guide channel. There was no hit a guide button on the controller and see everything that's coming up. There was no search bar where we could search for what we're looking for.
Yeah. But they also didn't promote either.
And that's what I was going to say. The Nashville Network, that's what killed them. They did not, and not only that, but I think with like ECW, as opposed to UWF, ECW was doing good things. But when WWE lost its deal with the USA Network and went over to the former Nashville Network and what turned into Spike TV, ECW got dropped.
Yeah. I remember that.
Dropped like a bad habit.
Yep, Spike TV.
That was absolutely crazy.
That was big,
guys. I don't have anything else on this. Y'all, go ahead. Sorry, JD, didn't mean to cut you off. I hate this lag.
Not a problem. I know the delay and stuff, so it's not a problem. I was going to say that at the time, WWE leaving USA and going to TNN and then Spike is what it was called eventually. That was big at the time. That was really huge for a wrestling company to even get like another TV deal. Usually, you hear about wrestling companies in the 90s just hanging on to whatever deal that they can. But, actually being able to get a deal somewhere else was really astonishing at the time. It was big.
Yep. And it's just, like I said, the more I looked into this and everything, and the more it just blows my mind how it didn't succeed. You know what I mean? It's not like the dude didn't have the money to pay the people out of his own pocket.
Yeah.
A
little less adult content, a little more wrestling. Going to Uncle Slam's point, he just didn't know what he was doing. If he had hired even a couple of people to, that would have been able to help guide him, maybe.
Yep, and that's what it was. I think he was a drug addict, Tony Khan, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but he didn't know anything about wrestling. The only thing Tony Khan knew about wrestling when he started AEW was he was a fan and he knew what he liked. You know what I'm saying? With Herb Abrams, I don't even know that he was a fan. I just think that he saw it as an attempt to, I can make easy money and I can do drugs and sleep with a lot of women and I can live a rock star lifestyle without being a true rock star.
Yep.
Yeah. Because
I think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, because he was, like I said, I mean, like when he was starting the whole thing out, I think he had, what did he say? He had Bruiser Brody was going to come, and he had been dead for years. He said Blackjack Mulligan was going to be doing the booking. He in prison for counterfeiting. I'm like, what are you talking about? like, what are we really talking about?
Yeah.
So it's like, he was just a hot mess. Like I said, that's why
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
His shit sounds so interesting. Like it's almost so far-fetched that it don't sound real, but I know it is real because you're like, no normal person would do this shit, but they really did this shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to need Netflix.
J-Mac, you froze.
What'd you
say? J-Mac froze.
Yeah, I know. He just stuck to the side.
Yeah. Just he's stuck on the side profile. J-Mac,
there you are. You back?
There we are. Okay. I'm going to need all these streaming stations to do me the favor of one of you make a biography movie of this guy, but do it right. Tell the truth, because the truth will be enough to keep people interested.
I don't know if you're going to get anything.
You don't have to embellish.
I don't know if you're going to get anything better than that episode from Dark Side of the Ring. That was a pretty good episode of describe it, like going through the events and what had happened and stuff. So I don't know if you're going to get any better than that, man.
But I think you could, like Uncle Slam said. I think a biopic on this guy
A
would
dramatization?
definitely be worth it.
Not
Yes.
not like a documentary, but you mean like a dramatization biography?
Yeah. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
That would be
like
a
movie.
Yeah. Look, I already know how to do this movie. I already got this. I got Lego figures. We just gonna do them with little Lego characters, and we'll animate them all. It'll work fine.
UWF the Lego story.
Yes, tell me people wouldn't love that shit.
Oh man, especially the adult content. That would just be
I know. We'll get some blocks and stuff and just break them up. We don't have to label. We just call them kilos. Just leave them there.
Man, that is great. What are we gonna do for the midgets? Can we take the legs off of them?
I'm telling you, this is the idea here, man. We just got some backers and write a screenplay, and we can make it happen.
Oh man, that's why I'm called the bad guy, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh, it's just, man, this has been a wild rabbit hole to go down. Like I said, and we probably didn't cover half the stuff, honestly and truthfully. I mean, we covered the more mainstream
there's
stuff.
Lots
but
of shit
so many stories.
Yeah, you guys didn't even really, unless you did it at the very beginning before I was able to tune into you guys. I was waiting for you guys to get to the adult content because that was the whole part, like one of the whole 50% of the whole initial marketing for UWF was that it was wrestling and bands. It wasn't just wrestling. It was supposed to be music in between matches. And then, there were always girls or porn stars there. They were trying to include sex with the wrestling. So there's a lot there. There's a lot there with the UWF, dude.
God bless. This man really was. He was trying to live the dream.
Dude, I'm serious. Yeah, he was.
What do you do for a living? A little bit of everything.
I think that man likely just answered cocaine.
Right. What do you do for a living? Cocaine. It helps me do everything else. It keeps me motivated.
Kind of like that wrestler we talked about, the cocaine.
Dude, yeah, I heard you talking about that. I've seen him. It's a funny gimmick.
I know. Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, I heard you guys know I was eating. Yeah.
I often wonder now if when he was standing there in the room tearing it apart, butt naked with baby oil all over him, I often wonder if he was just standing there doing like the Ultimate Warrior thing in the mirror, just going like, everything.
The way dude was paranoid, man, I bet you he was looking for a wire and had a heart attack because he stressed himself out and tore his room apart looking for a wire.
Probably exactly what he did.
I just feel like he was wrapping up the prostitutes with the little tape like he did before. Oh, my boy. Going around in circles.
Instead of Sean and all the other ones.
He's got the hookers.
What had to be going on in Sid Vicious' life that he had to take that job and actually be crowned the champion? What is going on in your life that you're with the UWF being crowned the champion?
Maybe that happened in Dr. Death's life that he left and came back.
Well, Sid Vicious, that's probably after he choked that guy in Iraq. So when he got back in the country, he really couldn't go no place else. When he said wrestling was fake and he snatched him up.
No, that was Vader.
Oh, no, yeah,
that was
Vader.
Vader.
My bad. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, he smacked the shit out of little buddy. And then he got stuck in another country.
He lost his job with the WWE after that too. Not long.
Yep.
Undertaker's just sitting there staring at him like, okay, well, I'm going to jail now in another country, and thanks a lot for that.
Taker was like, man, I'm getting the fuck out of here. He's like, man, thanks, man. Like, you showed him. Come on, let's go to the airport.
Hey, man, you fuck around and you find out.
That's it.
You don't ask a wrestler if you just don't even mention the F word to a wrestler. Like, that's just the way it is. Every instance that you've seen on television or that's recorded, that ends badly for the person asking the question.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Ask John Stossel.
That's what I was about to say, man. John Stossel, yeah, man.
Is that fake?
I mean, if he can still hear you to this day, ask him.
Does that feel fake to you? Huh?
You guys know Bill Maher used to have a show called Politically Incorrect?
Yeah.
Love that show, and I
And-
love the episode you're getting ready to talk about.
Yeah, he had
Re-
wrestlers on, WCW wrestlers on. He had Piper, Medusa, Sting, and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yep.
And the first question he asked, and he really did it in an insulting way. I understand, because I host a podcast now. I understand what he was trying to ask, but he certainly went around it the wrong way. And he's like, okay, the audience, they're in on the joke, right? And Piper goes off, dude. He goes off, dude. He ends up pulling his pants down to show him the scar on his hip from his replaced hip and stuff, right there on TV and ABC and all that.
He said, "See that wrist? Broken. 7 years. Owen Hart, dead. Go ask his wife if it's a joke."
Yep. Yeah, he went all.
And then, like,
damn.
Like Bill Maher looked at him and he said, look it up. It's a famous clip, man. You can see like the whole 5-minute clip of this part. He asked him, he said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he looked at Piper and he said, "Well, I'm not, pulling my pants down in front of people." Piper looked at him and said, "Really? How'd you get the job?"
Yep. How'd you get the job?
Oh.
And then, because after he flips out, Bill Maher's like, "You're so sensitive. You're so sensitive." And then later on, all the wrestlers slowly, you could see it turning. They all start poking back at him about like, "Hey, dude, you were the one just disrespectful. You asked us, like, it's not fake. Like, we just showed you how many injuries. Owen Hart's dead. Like, it's not fake. We're giving you the answer to the question." And Bill Maher starts getting defensive. He's like, "Well, I'm just trying to figure out, and I'm just trying." And then Sting answers back, and he's like, "You're so sensitive." Like, in the typical Sting crack a joke kind of way. And everybody laughs and gets a pop out of it, but it was Sting, taking the jab right back at him, with the whole "you're so sensitive" remark when he was talking about Piper. It's really a great clip. One of my favorites. Did we lose J-Mac again?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah, we did.
Yep. Man, he's got to get his internet fixed. Damn.
Well, Slam, it's Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc with Uncle Slam, and now the bad guy JD is the new co-host.
Oh, he's back again.
All right. Had a little
technical difficulties.
Yeah, apparently squirrels like to eat through my cable lines more than anybody else's in the world. Because that's the excuse that I was given from my cable company about why my internet keeps messing up. Because apparently squirrels like to get up on utility poles and eat plastic off of the lines and stuff. I don't know of any squirrels like that, but
that's weird. I mean, I've seen squirrels on lines, but.
Well, then I got told, well, there's other animals too, like possums and stuff. I'm like, I get that and everything, and I've seen possums climb trees, but I live in the middle of the city and there ain't too many possums climbing the utility poles just to eat the lines up there. Yeah. There's a lot of food on the ground that they can get to. As a matter of fact, there's a trash can right there. I'm like,
yeah, that sounds like some bullshit.
I told the lady, I said, sounds to me like instead of equipment being made to break, it should be made to last.
Yeah.
I was like, because this is the second time in a year living here I've had to have my cable line replaced. So that tells me y'all's equipment ain't very good. But anyways, beyond the scope of what we're talking about. Guys, I am all done. I don't have anything else to talk about the UWF and Herb Abrams, but if y'all are done, I encourage everybody to go look into this. If you're a wrestling fan, go check out the Dark Side of the Ring, and Dark Side of the Ring. Hey, Vice TV, y'all want to throw a sponsorship over here? We'll keep talking about you and shout you out.
Or collaboration.
Yeah, we'll constantly, shout you out. We like money.
Yeah.
And we ain't too proud to beg. No,
absolutely. But, reach out. You want to work with Mayhem Media and Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc. Okay, you just want that. It's going to be good for everybody.
Yes.
Matter of fact, you want to buy both of our podcasts and just put them on Vice TV for a weekly show. You want to do this.
That is a business changing move for Vice. Vice, are you listening right now? J-Mac just gave you a business changing idea.
Exactly.
And if you're not listening here, let me do the Bart Simpson thing. get y'all into hypnotize you. I don't know if y'all seen that episode.
That's a good episode. I like that.
But yeah, I don't have anything else. Y'all, anybody else got anything about Herb and the UWF?
I'm tapped out today, brother.
Sounds good.
All righty. Well, guys, that is it. Join us next week. I don't think we have a topic yet, but oh yes, we do. Next week we will be doing a collaborative effort with the Four Horsemen of podcasting. So we will see you next Friday for that. And until then, guys, stay safe out there, all that good stuff. Treat people right, and let's ring the damn bell.